Another day, another Stoic session.
Alrighty, welcome. It is April 27th, and we are going to read the daily Stoic entry for the day. The name of today's entry is Turn It Inside Out.
Cool.
What are you guys talking about? Turn
George
it inside
Costanza.
out. Yeah, like an opposites.
Yeah, do the opposite. Do always the opposite. Everything works out.
Turn it inside out. We should have come to this taping. If I knew what this was called before I opened the book, we could have worn all our clothes inside out or something.
That's fun.
Okay, so today Marcus Aurelius has a quote for us. Turn it inside out and see what it is like, what it becomes like when old, sick, or prostituting itself. How short-lived the praiser and praised, the one who remembers and the remembered. Remembered in some corner of these parts, and even there not in the same way by all or even by one, and the whole earth is but a mere speck. I'm going to start at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Turn it inside out and see what it is like. What is it?
Anything. Try things some other ways,
Well, okay, so he says turn it inside out. So I want to know specifically what the it is that he is referring to.
Yeah.
Turn it inside out and see what it is like. What it becomes like when old, sick, or prostituting itself. So is he saying when you look at something, let's say a person, let's just put that because I feel like that's a good corollary. So, okay, if I look at a person, it might be easy to say, oh, this person is so successful and good looking or whatever.
Or the other way, whatever judgment, like stupid or whatever, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go the good way
Sure.
Then
Keep
he
going.
says
Keep going. That is it. Yeah.
becomes like. So what does that then become like when old, sick, or prostituting itself? So is this sort of like a caution against idolizing things?
But I'm not idolizing things, but idolizing your views on things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And he's essentially saying you have an idea of, you have the old ideas will always present themselves as, aka prostitute themselves, like, hey, I'm here, there you go, right? The old ideas will present themselves very hey, this is how it is, there it is, this is how it is, right? And he's saying be careful with those, see how it looks the other way,
Yeah, and I'm saying the prostituting is not like the thought coming and knocking on your door, but it's like whatever that thought has in its content is like, I like this puppy or whatever. He's saying now take that thought and see what it becomes like when old, sick, or prostituting itself. So to me, that's okay, realizing that this cute little puppy is gonna die someday, realizing that this cute little puppy could get sick, or it could get into a behavioral issue where it's, that's
not gonna be so cute and so
amazing
yeah. Because
anymore.
currently you might have the idea of, oh, this is a great puppy and I just want it, but you're not presented with the other ideas
The
of
full picture.
the full picture. What would be the other side of, this is a cute little puppy, oh, this become a monster who eats all my shoes, or whatever the monstrosity thing might look like to you. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I think we're probably circling it. I'm not sure if I don't feel confident that I've landed a bullseye.
No, this
on
one's
that.
a very weird. This could go all kinds of ways. I feel like. Because what you're saying is a little bit different how I'm seeing it, but it's
right.
But we are kind of circling it, yeah, for sure.
So he says, how short-lived the praiser and praised. So he's saying like that's fast-moving. So the praiser would be me thinking about the puppy, and the praised would be the puppy.
The puppy.
So he's saying
because
all of
that. Puppy in his eyes are like, oh, this person loves me. I am this puppy. I'm never gonna be a monster, but maybe you know what I mean. So it works both ways. Like you might be missing the part that like, oh, this dog might become a crazy dog. I'm not saying the dog is thinking me, but the dog, because you're receiving the dog, oh, my sweet puppy. The puppy is then also being received by you. Oh, I'm getting this love, so I'm not gonna become a monster or something. But he still could. You know what I mean? Even though you see him that way, and he's anyway. Maybe that's
yeah.
I'm just seeing it from both. It's hard with the dog because the dog wouldn't think that, but
right. And so then like the part of the quote that I'm referring to right now is just like it's like its own thought of like how short-lived the praiser and praised. So I'm just mapping that back onto the analogy of like in that scenario I'm the praiser and the puppy is the praised.
Sure.
And so he's saying that whole thing is short-lived.
Yeah.
So anytime that I'm in the seat of the praiser or the seat of the praised, frankly, or there's someone else in a relationship with me that's taking praiser or praised on for themselves, none of that is ultimately worthwhile because it doesn't last.
Sure. Or it doesn't, or yes. Or it doesn't last. It just doesn't last. So focusing on just that is silly because, other things will be majority of the time not there. Like I was thinking about like relationships, like when people fall in love or something, like that relationship is this flowery thing that doesn't last that way. It transitions into something different. Or buying a car. The first 2 days you're like, oh my God, I have this new car. Like this is this feeling, right? And now on the day 3, you're just like, I'm just going to work, right? Like you're not even realizing. So that idea of I need this new car and I'm gonna be so happy when I have it. That whole thing is so short-lived. And now you're gonna have this car for 10 years, right? And you have to maintain it and do all this stuff, and you don't have that initial, this praising this thing that I'm gonna go purchase or something. Yeah, beautiful. Same.
Yes, and so he says, how short-lived the one who remembers and the remembered. And then the rest of his quote is really about the remembering. And so, like, remembered in some corner of these parts, and even they're not in the same way by all or even by one. So he's getting at, like, this is the whole thing of, like, the legacy, and, like, that's what we are striving, we are striving to be remembered into infinity. Like, that's sort of like the thought that like makes this whole like dying thing feel palatable or something. It's like, well, at least I'll be remembered, And so he's saying even that is short-lived. Yeah. Plus being remembered, sure, you may be remembered in some corner of these parts, but not everybody's going to remember you the same way, and not everybody's going to remember you, period. And the whole earth is just one little speck. So even I think he's extrapolating now, saying the earth is not even going to be remembered.
If you're saying, well, but what about like this person? Like, no, we're talking about like we're outside of that. Like no one person will ever be remembered.
Right. It's like, no, like everybody's always going to be doing Shakespeare's.
And they're like, yeah, but 3,000 years later, they still remember. Yeah, but not 10 million years later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's funny. And can it be recorded someplace? So the potentiality of the remembrance could be even 10 million years later? Sure, but what is it? It's just some written data someplace in some hieroglyphs on a rock in the middle of pyramid. a little bird and a little speckle and another birds and 3 cows, and now you're like, yeah, that's me, bro.
Right, but if you can't even trace it back to you, if nobody
well, that's what I'm
looked,
saying. For us,
right.
we look at it as 3 birds and like 2 cows, and
nobody
like,
would
what's up?
trace it back to a person. They're like,
No,
oh, this
would,
hieroglyph, like it lives here. It's
Right.
here. Somebody put it here.
Right.
But the somebody is just called somebody.
Right.
It's
Or even if we did like, there was a person as this king of, some people back in the day at some point, but like, that's not like, is that important to, we're bringing that person into presence, right? In some fashion, we're remembering something that's connected with that person, and now we somehow 4,000 years later, the Cleopatra is brought back into present because we are naming her and we're talking about her, even though that's not what what we all think about who that person was. It was zero that person, but yeah, it's silly. So it's like, yeah, or does it do something in the universe of just memory of Elvis? Now Elvis is like getting promoted someplace. You know what I mean? That's funny.
I don't want to say you're full of shit because what do I know?
Well,
but I really want to say you're full of shit.
No, but it's unproved. No, of course that would be so ridiculous. The existence of all these things, and then that's one of the systems. It would be so obnoxious. Unless it's a comedy, then yes. Good times. Okay.
You ready for Ryan?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, we're gonna read Ryan Holiday's entry. Stoicism is about looking at things from every angle, and certain situations are easier to understand from different perspectives. In potentially negative situations, the objective, even superficial gaze might actually be superior. That view might let us see things clearly without diving too much into what they might represent or what might have caused them. In other situations, particularly those that involve something impressive or praiseworthy, another approach, like that of contemptuous expressions, is helpful. By examining situations from the inside out, we can be less daunted by them, less likely to be swayed by them. Dig into your fear of death or obscurity, and what will you find? Turn some fancy ceremony inside out, and you'll find what? Okay.
Okay.
Do you have something?
No.
No. Okay. I kind of want to look at something he said in here because he gave in these situations do this, in those situations do that. Okay. So he said in potentially negative situations, the objective, even superficial gaze, might actually be superior. So he's saying negative situations, okay, I get it, the objective. I thought he meant the objective, the goal, but he doesn't mean that. He means the objective, the factual. So he's saying in negative situations, the factual point of view is going to be the most helpful, and potentially even the superficial point of view where you're not digging into a negative situation to see what it means or why somebody did what they did, or you're just not trying to make a big deal out of the negative situation.
You're trying to see that is somebody's point of view. You're not trying to maybe go into why that is somebody's
or
point
what
of
it means
view.
About them,
or
what it
means about
you.
them, or what is the meaning of that interpretation. No, more oh, that's interesting. This is somebody's interpretation, and I need to take that into account. So that exists. I don't need to necessarily go investigate why that person has that specific view. They do. I got to deal with that, right? More than deal with trying to figure out why and then try to change them or something. No, that's silly. Yeah.
Right.
That's cool.
So negative is stay with the facts. And stays high level. Don't let it go into what this means about me or this other person or any of this other stuff.
Or maybe not making it personal about yeah. Like don't try to assign it to a person, but like it's an issue. So what is the issue itself or something? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I like it. Okay.
And so then he's saying, in other situations, particularly those that involve something impressive or praiseworthy, another approach like that of contemptuous expressions is helpful. So, contemptuous expressions, I was just leafing through this, was from 3 days ago. There was the one from Marcus where he had like, and that sex is only rubbing private parts together, followed by a spasmic discharge, and fine wine is only the juice of a bunch of grapes. Now this is putting it into a more, it's solidifying the context of the other day, because even the other day we were kind of like, well, what is he driving at here? Now I totally get it, I feel like, because Ryan's saying where there's something impressive or praiseworthy, and perhaps this is even why Marcus was talking to himself about it, because as the emperor, he deals with a lot of like superfluous, really nice shit around him all the time. That's like shiny diamond kind of stuff. So what he's saying with the shiny diamond kind of stuff is to go to those contemptuous expressions where it's like breaking it down of like, oh, this praiseworthy thing is actually just this and this and this and this.
Yeah. Diamond is just a piece of see-through rock that's been found in the ground somewhere.
Like pressurized
rock or something.
Yeah. And that's really what he gave us in this. He gave us these two things, like treat your negative situations like this, treat your positive situations like this. And that will keep us more in the middle, in like a more healthy, balanced thing, because the negatives won't bring us so down and the positives won't get us so excited.
Right. Yeah, because, and then sometimes one might think that like, oh, like, well, why couldn't I just enjoy the positives? Like, aren't they just like, finally, they're showing up in my life. I should join them fully, 100%, with all of the excitement that comes along with it. Yeah, but if you're not controlling that, then you are out of control in there. And now when that is coming to some sort of a peak and ending, right? And now you're not ready for the downturn, and now you're not ready for that, so now it's gonna swing you. So it's almost like a swing, right? Like the more you want to go to the positive side, when the positive ends, it's coming back to the negative side in some fashion. I'm not saying it's like exactly like that, but it has some sort of a flavor to that. Like so it's like, hey, don't swing too much to the one side, don't swing too much to the other side. Like don't celebrate your winnings and acknowledge your losses. Both are important, but don't go crazy here, and don't go into be super sad about the losses, and don't go crazy about the winnings. They're just kind of like, this is a good win. Let's keep going, right? Yeah.
Man, with those negative stuff, it's so hard to stay in the facts. Like my brain skips over the facts. Like the facts are just a given, and then my brain's work during that time is just like, oh man, and like it's never gonna happen for me. It's like this is my biggest problem, or like this is where my mind will start spinning in a negative situation. But if I literally am just thinking about like the facts, the objective facts, I have like none of that emotional movement going on.
No. Right. And it's actually interesting because when we take this into like what Franz is saying, or non-duality, like living in the now only is very factual. It's like, well, what is now? Well, now is just so I'm sitting. I feel I'm sitting. I have some clothes on. I'm someplace. I'm here, but there's nothing else. Anything that I add to it, like I am so mad because of the work yesterday, or oh, I'm so scared about this thing tomorrow. That's now related to this, what we were talking about, right? Like it gets to this, like the second it's like from yesterday or for tomorrow or not from now. Now it's in here. It's like a concept where it should.
But even you can turn that into more of a fact if there's like this thing of I'm having a thought that is scared about tomorrow or is upset about work. Now all of a sudden you're pulling yourself back into the balanced state of like, hey, that's just a thought. It's just a fact. The fact is a thought came through my head that wants me to have this feeling, and the fact is my body has these physical sensations
and then
about,
it's like, this feels.
And that's a fact.
And now there's another thought that makes me feel like I'm inadequate or something. Because of it. There's
that's
all of
fact
this.
that I'm having this
all
thought
of this is a fact.
That this experience is happening.
But is something happening to me, like, or like who I am, or who like now it's like disconnected from.
Well,
it
and now
even
like
more,
if you go into that, you're away from the facts again. Like
Sure,
this is
sure,
like
sure,
this
sure.
is a big aha moment. Like literally right now, it's
Very
just
cool.
like if I can stay with the facts, and the fact is like even just naming what is happening in me physically or mentally in my thoughts, it's like the same experience except for I'm there's something at the end of it which is like, oh, and this just happened. Oh, and this just happened, and this feeling is here, and this feeling is here. That is like such a more like relaxed attitude about the whole thing than staying in the expression of whatever the sensation is or thought is that's in my head.
Yeah. That's great.
And so it's like literally stay with those facts.
Yeah. And those facts are, you can break them down to your comfortable level, to where they start feeling like, oh, I see, that's not the thing that I was thinking about. It's this other thing. Like, you don't have to go down to the molecular level. You can just say,
Yeah, it needs to make sense to the individual.
It needs to make sense to the individual, what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
This one was cool. This one was fun. Juicier, actually, than I thought it was going to be.
Sweet. Oh, wow.
Alrighty. Thank you for joining, and comment us. Just tell us something. Just something. Just one thing. Just say one thing. And Ollie's doing a weird thing. And then come back tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.